Hi, my name is Kelly Bourque. I'm the owner of Red Therapy Group, and I'm going to tell you about the process of emotionally focused therapy. So this is a very structured 3 stages, 9 steps process. You don't really have to worry about what the stages are or what the steps are, but I am going to give you sort of a rough summary or estimate so that we're very transparent with the process that we're taking you through and exactly why we're doing what we're doing. We have a literal map. And so there is a very structured 3-stage approach to this process. That's the big map of therapy. Then we also have a mini map, and this is what we do in each session. So if you think about these 2 things kind of overlapping constantly, this is in essence what we're doing with you. So to break it down, the 3 stages of emotionally focused therapy for couples, the first stage is called de-escalation. And what that means is we're trying to really create safety for you and your relationship. And so typically you're going to come in with some level of distress. It might be years and years and years of hurt and just disconnection, or it could be a recent crisis or a major injury in your relationship, or a combination of both. For whatever reason, we're assuming that you're coming in with some level of distress or feeling stuck. And so the first stage of therapy, literally the whole goal is to stabilize your relationship. And so we want to help you feel really safe, obviously with your therapist, but also to start to feel emotionally safe with each other. And so how do we do that? Now I'm going to bring out the mini map. So this is, we call it the tango, but this is the interventions that we do every single session. And how it starts out is, you come into the session and you might bring your last sort of example of how you felt that disconnection or that stuckness in your relationship. And your therapist is going to work really hard to slow down what is happening, both as you're telling your therapist and as you reflect on what it's like in your real life. So what happens on the surface, what might you be telling yourself, what might you be doing to protect yourself. Just get really, really clear about, from both perspectives, about what's actually happening. So that's the beginning of the session. Then as you share, your therapist is going to be listening closely for something that might be a little bit new or a little bit more soft or tender, just something that is going to create some clarity for what's driving what's happening on the surface. And so your therapist will probably spend some time with one of you to work inside, to get some kind of connection with what's happening more kind of below the surface. And your therapist will help that person share what that is, kind of boil it down basically to like a nugget. This is the essence of what's happening for me in this pattern that we get stuck in. That person will share. So literally like look in the eyes and share with your partner. And then what happens next is you will process what it's like to share and what it's like to receive. And this is the part where I like to tell people, you really can't mess this up. This is not a test. There isn't a right or wrong way to share or to respond. This is actually to help us find the blocks. So if it's hard to share or if it's hard to hear, that's data for us. We need to know what that block is, that there is a block, and we will slow that down as well. That's also the next place that we're going to work. So that's kind of like, there it is. There's that fear, right? That fear of really bringing your, maybe something that's a bit softer, right? And, there's all kinds of things that could be happening there. So that block is actually important. Sometimes it's not a block and it's actually something that's really new and it connects you and it's good information, like, oh, I never knew that was happening. So after you process what it's like to share and hear, then your therapist will help you sort of summarize it. Okay, what did we just do, right? And how is that really different than what happens on the surface? So that mini map, that process that I just walked you through of what you can expect in a session, this is what your therapist will be doing throughout the entire big process of your couples therapy. So as you do that, I'm doing this because that's kind of how we think about going through the tango. As you do that process each session, and the context will be different, what you're talking about will be different, but the process is the same. And usually as you kind of boil it down to those nuggets, you discover themes. Oh my goodness, here's my deep fear, here's my deep longing, right? And it's kind of places that aren't quite safe enough to access when you're coming into therapy. So eventually you will kind of discover, wow, we're really behaving differently. We have behavioral change, like life. Our interactions are looking different in a good way. You'll feel safer with each other. You'll feel more connected with each other. These are all markers that tell us, okay, we are ready to move into stage 2 of the process. And stage 2 of the process is the same. We're using the same mini map, but we do go a bit deeper. And this is to restructure your relationship. And so this is where some of those longings and fears, you're able to kind of, speak from that place and really reach for each other in a much more effective way because you feel safe. And so when you do that, that creates a pretty significant bonding moment. And that is something that lays down the foundation for you to take with you forever. This is now your new relationship, right? So it's your new relationship together. Think about it as we're not divorcing each other, but we're divorcing our old relationship, our old pattern, and we need a new relationship. So stage 2 is actually really important for lasting change. Your therapist will be very clear with you, and you can ask questions along the way. How do we know that we're ready for stage 2? Are we there yet? That type of thing. Just because you feel better doesn't mean you need to stop therapy. The consequence of stopping as soon as you get some relief is that you'll relapse and you won't have that lasting change. All the therapists at Red Therapy Group really want to see you have success and be able to take this with you and really not need us anymore. So stage 2 is a really important stage. It's usually a little bit shorter than stage 1. And then stage 3, couples may or may not choose to continue therapy in stage 3. It's not necessary. Stage 3 is more problem solving, more like, okay, now we've got a new relationship, but we've got our old problems. Like, we need to change our life. And that's where you can navigate those, and you can really just try to do what you were probably trying to do when you came into therapy, but your lens is different. You're bringing your whole self. to the conversation in a new way. You have a new relationship, and so you're able to tackle those things much more effectively. And stage 3 is called consolidation. So that's kind of integrating that deep work that you did in stage 2 with some of the more practical real life stuff. So that is literally what we hope to do with you through the entire process of therapy. A lot of people want to know, how long is it going to take? Your therapist will probably, if you ask this question, will probably say it depends, and it does depend. The level of distress that you come in with usually is equal to how long it's going to take. And if there's anything that's, on top of like an added layer, like a big attachment injury, this could be a betrayal or something like that. Or maybe you got really close to divorce, and that can feel like an injury. Or there's some trauma in your individual background that contribute to just being able to feel secure in a relationship. Those factors tend to take just a little bit longer. But what you can hope for is that in every step of the way, you will know where you are and where you're going, because you and your therapist will be constantly talking about it and collaborating. This is what that means for how many more sessions. You're signing up to be taken through this process, but you get to you get to decide exactly what you want and what you need and how you feel. So at any time you can say, hey, I'm feeling stuck in this process. Can we sort of like put our heads together and figure out if we need to pivot at all? And that's what we like. We like to get that kind of feedback. We want to collaborate with you. And ultimately, we really want to see you succeed. We want you to feel love from your partner and towards your partner, not just know it. And we want you to be able to thrive individually because of that really secure feeling of we have each other. We have each other's back. We're a team. And, this person is really my number one, and I'm their number one. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to ask your therapist. This is what they're there for. Thank you.